Hey, Coach, thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Delighted to do this.
So, I guess to start, can you just kind of give us your background, in golf, maybe competitively coaching, and how you're at where you are today?
I'm very lucky. I'm in my eighth year, enjoying being the coach at Yale, where I was a player in the '90s. I graduated in 1997. I grew up playing golf in Fairfield, Connecticut. Very good friends with J.J. Henry. We were competitive as juniors and friends. And I had 4 wonderful years at Yale. Did not distinguish myself as a golfer, but I had a great relationship with the coach. Really got a really got a had a tremendous experience from the 4 years with the program, the teammates, the travel overseas, the spring break trips, um, and had a chance to fall in love with the Yale golf course, which is the undisputed #1 college golf course in the land, and 12 minutes from campus. And then when I was a student, I took it for granted that every university had its own course and that it was pretty good. And then I've sort of since found out it's almost the exception to the rule. So um, I kept in touch with the coach. I did not my background after college. I worked in as an editor for a golf magazine, and I traveled around the world. I published a history of the United States Amateur for the Classics of Golf. And when my coach at Yale and predecessor, Dave Patterson, retired, I was able to be his assistant for his 33rd and final year, and then take over after that. So that was back in 2008, and it was an honor to be able to get to do that, and I've had a great time ever since then.
That's awesome. I grew up playing golf in Fairfield, Connecticut at Brooklawn Country Club. So,
Oh, you did?
yeah, so
Nice. How old?
definitely
That's where we played
something.
our high school matches.
Oh, really? Did you play at
I love
prep?
that. Fairfield High.
Okay, yeah.
Where
Uh,
did you? What year? What school did you go to?
I went to Wilton High School.
Oh, right,
So it was
right.
like a 15-minute drive, but yeah, I finished high school in 2005.
Oh my God, yeah. So I only graduated high school in 1993.
Well, that's awesome. Definitely been involved in golf your whole year or your whole life. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the first question, probably one of the biggest things that you get from junior golfers, and they're probably most curious to, you're getting clearly thousands of emails every year, and you only have space for two, maybe three guys on the team. And I know obviously in Ivy League school, you have so many benchmarks that you have to pass on the academic and the golf end. What can these players really be doing to differentiate themselves and give themselves a chance of you considering them for a spot on the team?
Well, in as you said, in each recruiting cycle, I'll probably receive somewhere between 250 and 300 unsolicited emails from talented and ambitious student athletes from around the country and increasingly around the world. And yeah, I'm in a position to really only support about two of them. So it's understandably a very competitive process. My advice to everybody who I come in contact with is just enjoy the process of improving and getting better at golf as a junior player. Getting good at golf is its own reward. The worst case scenario is that they'll only be really good at golf for the next 50 years of their life, and you get to sort of get really good at this fascinating, beautiful game at an early age, and you'll never regret that. If golf is only a means to get into a college, then it might not be the best path. And so, as long as someone turns out to be a passionate golfer and academically minded, and they've developed a love of the game they're going to play for the rest of their life, then they've already won. Um, to be to be a Yale recruit or to be a top Ivy League recruit, it requires it's a nationwide contest for a combination of the finest student and golfer in the land. Elite academic profile twinned with an exceptionally strong golfing resume. I don't think people realize quite how quite um, high the standards have become for the Ivy League recruits. Yes, you have to. There's a lot of need-based tuition for, even though there's a lack of any sort of athletic scholarship opportunities. There's still considerable interest in coming to the Ivy League, of course. Um, we are in the Northeast. Weather isn't great, and you don't get all this you don't get any special consideration for being a student athlete. Um, what I love about my players is because they are passionate, they love the game. They play without any spectators and without um, much coverage, and yet they play their hearts out. They put it all on the line. They do so, sacrifice on behalf of their teammates, um, and it's a beautiful thing. Team golf is a wonderful opportunity. I know kids get an opportunity to do so in high school, and then at college level, it's ratcheted up the intensity. But anyone can play really well for themselves during the summer, but it's 5 times, 10 times more gratifying to do so on behalf of your teammates and be the one who drags the team across the finish line.
Absolutely, and it definitely takes a driven and focused player. I'm sure you see some recruits maybe withdraw from a tournament or kind of quit on a bad round with the last few holes to go, and you can't do that in college golf.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Well, you hope your score gets you hope your score is the one that gets dropped.
yeah,
Problem is when you have the problem is when you have two players telling you their score is going to be dropped.
yep. You made a really good point. You said there'll be some decent golfers, but they're using golf as a means to maybe get into a school like Yale. Do you feel like you can detect that a little bit? Maybe if a player does come on a visit, or
No, I mean and the nice thing is here because there isn't with one of the nice things about the Ivy League profile is because we don't have athletic scholarships. Um, Academics are still the number one priority, and there's no confusing the two. Golf is a close second, but in addition to that, it's supposed to be 4 wonderful years of your life where students are branching out and broadening their horizons and exposing themselves to ideas and making tons of friends and have lifelong lasting friendships and just growing as a person is a critical 4 years. So I believe we really have really sort of true amateur golf here. There's no conflict of interest on the academic results of the team. That's it. And then they manage to play golf around that, which is a tough commitment, a tough sacrifice. There's no question. So I don't have any problem with someone trying to get into the best school possible. Um, and if that's their ambition, if they're going to be able to play golf and contribute, then absolutely welcome them. It's just when I oftentimes see that they're playing golf during the summer and just pinning their hopes on golf to sort of get into the school as if I understand. I understand at that age it feels like a life and death situation, and where I understand how it's it's made to be far more intense than it should ever be. And but I that's why I'm always kind of just trying my best to just kind of add some perspective to it. It might not be what people want to hear sometimes, but I know I it's just the nature of the process. If you're gonna get to know and like tons of kids, and you're never gonna have enough. You wish you could support them all.
right?
Fortunately, it's never the case.
Okay, that's really interesting because I do talk to a lot of coaches about the school golf balance at their school, and a lot of the times it's these guys are putting in 40 hours a week with practice, and then they're up late to get their homework done, but a lot of these guys are focused on golf, and it seems like priorities are different at a school like Yale, and to me that makes perfect sense. But what would you say that balance looks like for your players? Would you say school is clearly a priority?
Oh well, absolutely. The teams average around a 3.5 GPA every year. One of the high, sort of among the top 10 teams in the nation. We cycle out of the fall season in sort of the first third or middle of October, right around the time midterms are really kicking in. Even though we start this fall semester playing right away, it ratchets it up quickly. By the third or fourth week of September, they're already sort of getting a heavy a heavy academic crunch, and then by the time we finish the fall season, they're running on fumes. So it's nice is that we do sort of transition in the off season to where they just really have sort of workout responsibilities, and then on days with good weather, they'll go and voluntarily play. They're always going out to play on their own. Um, the spring semester is a more challenging one. We'll go on a we'll go on a spring break somewhere warm in March, and we've gone to the southeast. And this year we're actually coming out to the Bay Area. We're gonna play all around San Francisco and Monterey, and then finish at the Wally Goodwin.
Nice.
At yeah, we're excited. But when we come back, it's April, and the spring is way different than the fall, and conditions are raw. It's freezing. There's frost delays, gusting winds, and we play 3 straight weeks in pretty tough conditions that are also the harder conditions are actually that it's the end of the semester, and we go off to the Ivy League championship with with finals coming up, and the kids have enormous um, projects due and papers and at the time of the 1 weekend of the year when we're our most sort of critical tournament is when they're actually at their most exhausted from classes, and so it's a tough challenge. That's why you really do. I've learned you really have to recruit the highest academic profile possible, because you know no one's you can't have someone who's just going to just try to tread water and then expect to play golf. It's too much. You need people that have really demonstrated ability to conscientious time management, conscientious student athlete, to be able to sort of balance it all. It's not easy. It's very difficult. And not everyone can do it. And and you're really and you're talking about someone judging them on their game during sort of like a critical 20-day window in April. It's not always the fairest snapshot or glimpse of their ability, but that's our college season.
Okay. Do your players have access to tutors, like readily available if they do need
Sure.
help?
Yeah. Every Yale student has. There's writing tutors, and there's a great network, and it's there's nothing really specific to athletes, but this there's sort of the undergraduate system is structured in a way that there's always help involved. But fortunately, these kids are also. I mean, they're very talented. I mean, they are. There's the reason that they sort of arrive to the top of the recruiting sort of pyramid. It's because they're this is what they're prepared and capable of doing.
Okay. Let's talk about your team for a second. So you guys play at the Yale Golf Course. For a long time, it's been ranked the number one school-owned course. Is that where you guys are spending most of your practice time over at Yale?
Yeah, it's wonderful. It really is. It's 12 minutes from campus. We practice Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays from 3 to 6. It's kids leave campus at 2:45, get to the course, hit balls for half an hour, and then go and they can do whatever they want. We structure it differently. They Everyone has a sort of different goals and sort of practice methods, but primarily go and have a golf is great. You hit balls for a little bit of time, and then go play some sort of twilight nine with your teammates who are your close friends on a sort of Indian summer afternoon. It's beautiful, and then return to campus. It's 6:15, just refreshed, going back to the dining halls before a night of work. So that's a fantastic um, situation. We have a wonderful indoor facility on campus that we use during the winter. We have a TrackMan, an indoor simulator. It's beautiful. 3 hitting bays, a putting green. It's definitely something very convenient for the kids to use before and after workouts, before they go and play basketball. There's always members of the men's and women's team in there. There's always music playing on the docking station. It's a very relaxed kind of chill environment, as they would say.
That's awesome. Um, One other thing with your team, you guys have really improved in the last 2 years. Last year may have been, one of your guys' strongest seasons, or really the last 2 years. What have you found to be, the catalyst for really? It seems like it took you guys up to another level in the past 2 years.
Well, we've been on I think, since around 2010, 2011, the team has been consistently strong. Um, we've won around, I think it's 17 tournaments since 2008. Um, the team has, and just the quality of the conference has gone up. The Ivy League is improving, um, and it helps to have had a number of really strong players. Every year we have about two academic All-Americans, multiple All-Region players. I'm most impressed with the fact that different players have stepped up. We had a great player, sort of one of the best players in the conference, Sam Bernstein, graduated a few years ago, and then Will Davenport and Thomas Greenhalgh, um, Sean Gaudette, Tom McCarthy. I mean, there's just been Jeff Hatton. It's been a nice run of talent and just kids working hard, and it's a competitive environment. Um, it's uh, I'm naming mostly people who graduated. I should shout out current players: Joe Willis and Johnny Lai, Jimmy Park, Lee Wong. I mean, it's as these are my juniors, and I go down great sophomore freshman classes. Um, I just it's been we're fortunate to have the facilities help with the recruiting. We're fortunate to have the sort of profile of the university, and you're fortunate to have uh, players who play well help help recruit uh, players behind them to fill their shoes, and it's been great.
Okay. So with recruiting, you mentioned your players help. Do you have kind of a national reach with recruiting? Will you travel to go to tournaments around the country, or do you maybe recommend if players are reaching out to you, seeing a level of interest on your end, would it be in their interest to maybe travel to the Northeast and compete in that area so it's easier for you to come watch?
Yeah, I wish I could travel more. It's impossible to see everyone. I have recruited players, very good players, who I never actually saw compete.
Okay.
Um, you know, you look for a nice, consistent resume with some, um, but I don't. No one would be at a. I wouldn't suggest someone's at a disadvantage if they don't come to the Northeast. But I definitely, if the option exists for their own sake, if it's something their family can sort of make happen, I certainly encourage people to sort of have a Northeast, consider scheduling an AJGA or the Northern Junior, and coming to the Northeast and having an opportunity to visit schools and sort of maybe have a family summer vacation, all rolled into one if possible. And I mean, I make it a top priority to see players that the sort of the really great players, and they tend to come to the Northeast at least once, and then we make it happen. But I would certainly also recruit someone sight unseen, just going on video and following their sort of references and just their body of work.
Okay. And obviously, to recruit any player, it's very important that one, they make the commitment to come visit you on campus, and I imagine that would be a requirement you meeting them, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I encourage everyone to make an unofficial visit, whether I'm there or not. They should see campus. It's an amazing campus, and I want everyone to see it for themselves. And then the really top players are sort of will during their junior year often will have them maybe attend a class and stay overnight with players on the team. Um, by the time the official visits roll around, it's often on the back end of the cycle. While the recruiting doesn't really officially kick in until after their junior year, once they can really assemble the freshman, sophomore, junior year transcript and have all their standardized testing scores, it's oftentimes gets completed in July and August, and sometimes it rolls into September, October, and almost always, not every time, but almost always my recruits will apply early to Yale. I'll support their application, um, and and I'll on October 1st complete a sort of form that triggers the early read and the request for a likely letter, and then by mid-October they'll receive, should the process work out, they'll receive a likely letter.
Okay. So maybe some good feedback for the junior golfers out there. Junior year, if you're interested in an Ivy League school, do your best to get a visit.
It's always a
Pre-screen,
good idea.
pre-screen junior to senior summer, and then start of senior year, you're gonna have to start having this all ironed out. And
Yeah, I would remind juniors during their junior year academically that year is critical. That'll be the last full year that the admissions um, committee will be uh, reviewing. In addition to the fact that they do monitor sort of first quarter, and they do continue to monitor grade senior year, but when they're looking at a body of work, they want a person who's been trending up,
okay,
punching above their weight, you know, taking the taking the a course load with the most rigor possible. I There's a sort of misconception out there I've heard repeated that you're better off getting straight A's in easy classes than getting B pluses and A minuses in harder classes. That's not true.
okay,
They want students taking advantage of if a school offers X number of AP classes, they want you to be challenging yourself to take many of those, as many as possible. Um, they also review. They do review transcripts in the context of the school. If the school has sort of greater academic rigor than another, it they give that consideration. But ultimately, they want people who are really engaged in their senior in their high school classes, in their classes, really contributing, and there just can't really be any opportunities for any kind of letdown classes. Any you're almost, you can have the occasional B, but you really can't have much worse than that.
okay. That's great feedback. Definitely challenge yourself. Straight A's, with the easy classes, don't do it. Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right. Well, this has been awesome, Coach. Thank you. We've talked a lot about what these recruits can be doing to, get your attention. Talked a bunch about the program. What's one thing as you're going through this recruiting process every year? What's a major turnoff for you? Something that recruits should totally avoid.
I don't know. I mean, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. It's it's there's no blueprint or handbook for this process in golf, and a lot of people have a lot of questions. I don't begrudge anyone who remains. I encourage everyone to just remain aggressive in contacting coaches. If they don't hear from them right away, understand that we're all on the receiving end of a tidal wave of emails, and we do our best to reply. And there's not everyone has assistants, and it can be overwhelming at times. But I'm trying to think. I guess an obvious thing in a turnoff is just behavior on a golf course during a competition.
Okay.
Just anything remotely close to just sort of boorish behavior or club throwing or just anything that looks sort of immature is just you're going to lose. You're going to just even just something relatively small infraction, and it might not speak to who that person is, but if it's done in front of a coach, then it can be a sort of a deal breaking situation. You want players that you project are going to develop and continue to grow, and the one thing I always point out is even when I'm looking at kids in the summer between their junior and senior year, and that's relatively late in the recruiting process. They're still practically like 21 months away from competing in their first conference championship as freshmen, which is a lifetime at that point, that distance. And so you just want to see thoughtful, conscientious kind of players who love the game. I love that my Yale players, they never have to be. They don't need to be motivated. They don't have to be told to practice. They just do it because they love it, and that that's sort of the profile that you want. Um, and you just people that appear grateful. And the other thing I'll say is, in addition to sort of maybe doing something poorly on the golf course, if I another another real turn off is maybe how they treat their parents. You see them like snatch a water bottle from them, say thank you, or kind of give them lip or get short with them. You're like, oh man, if they're going to do that to their folks, then what are they going to do to their coach? I don't need this.
They're stressed about a golf shot. Wait till they have a final coming up, and
Yeah,
they have to talk to coach.
but they're all good kids, and I go back to my original point is, I oftentimes have to tell kids, and it's hard to sort of give them the breakup conversation, but you know I I tell them, listen, I'm not going to worry about you. You're already you're already talented at golf. You're a very good student. Things are gonna work out just fine. And I know it's people have their heart set on a particular school, but there's being a poised young man and being sort of a good player is, those things will never go out of style.
That's great. Well, Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this morning. Really, really helpful, and good luck with the spring season.
My pleasure. Same to you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks,
I
Coach.
appreciate you doing this.